Can you go through perimenopause naturally? Do you need to take HRT? Everybody's talking about HRT, which is great, but what are the options out there? I'm gonna talk about that right now. So this was prompted by a post that I saw from a colleague of mine. She is a nurse that has done additional training in functional nutrition and functional medicine, and her post said, "I'm 47. I'm not on HRT. I have no symptoms." And basically, the gist of the post was, "Hey, follow me to learn how I do that and how you can do that too." So great marketing. But here's where I think something like that can mislead women, um, in what I would suggest instead. So something to note is when you are in perimenopause, when you enter perimenopause. So menopause, just to remind you, is when your ovaries, you stop ovulating, you stop releasing an egg, you stop cycling, and then perimenopause, we know up to 10 years before that, we just have declining sex hormones over time. So, when we're in our childbearing years, estrogen and progesterone are in normal range, they're higher. Perimenopause, those hormones overall start declining, and menopause, they're low. So, there's two things that happen though, is when you have normal levels of sex hormones, you basically have some built-in resilience. So if you have, let's say, mood swings, chemical imbalance, mood instability, right? If you have inflammation, if you have gut issues, you can potentially like have some of those symptoms, and maybe they're more manageable. But what happens is when you hit perimenopause, menopause, those sex hormones start dropping. You essentially can just lose that resilience. You're like, I kind of had symptoms before, but gosh, it feels like, the train wreck of perimenopause. You see those posts online all the time. Some of them are very funny, but it really can feel like that for some women. Like I know for me, I'm like, all of a sudden I can't sleep. Great. Um, so there's kind of two things that are happening. We have that decline in sex hormones, but we have these underlying issues of inflammation and gut issues and mood instability and nervous system dysregulation. And again, just that those hormonal changes of perimenopause can make those more apparent because we lose the resilience from those sex hormones. So, somebody like the woman I mentioned, who's a functional practitioner, might help women to address all those things: the nervous system, the gut, the inflammation, etc. But which is great, and which is why I would guess maybe she's like, I don't have any symptoms, right? So she may not be having symptoms of the hormones declining. And some women do, some women don't. That there's some genetic variation that affects that. But she, has probably addressed all those other things that could potentially be driving symptoms. So this is where I think some functional practitioners in particular can, again, just mislead women. I was actually taught this by a mentor, probably 3 4 years ago now. Is some people in the functional space believe, well, if you address all those other things, if you heal your gut and our nervous system and inflammation and toxicity and all that, they shouldn't need HRT. And this is where, again, I'd like to play devil's advocate. So that I think is looking at symptoms alone. So yes, maybe if you heal all those other things, she's not going to be symptomatic and not going to have that, like, oh, I need to get on HRT because I feel terrible, right? But what is missing, what can be missing, is what we know when we look at women in perimenopause more and more now, is that those women in perimenopause have declining sex hormones for years. And yes, they may not be symptomatic. And they could have still normal estrogen, normal progesterone. This is something I see a lot in women, even women on HRT, is their hormones are normal, but they're still actually really low. So there's good data that shows that women need estrogen, estradiol of at least 70 in order in the US. If you're in the US, I can't think of it off the top of my head. It's like picograms per ml, estradiol level of 70 or greater is where we get good bone preservation, where we're not, at higher risk for osteoporosis and osteopenia if we maintain estradiol of at least 70. I will tell you, I see women all the time in my practice who come to me on HRT already, and we test, and their estrogen's 30, their estrogen's 50. And yes, it's technically normal, by normal, the standard lab ranges, but it's not protecting her bones. So yes, she's navigating years of this on HRT thinking she's fine when she really has lower levels that can lead to osteoporosis and osteopenia later in life. And the thing, I think it's something I always like to tie back to is because when you're in perimenopause, if you're in your 40s, you're not necessarily thinking about having osteoporosis or osteopenia. That seems years down the road. That's like 20 years, 30 years away. You're like, why do I care about that now? But the thing is, if we're not preserving your estrogen through your 40s, your 50s, when you have your first DEXA scan at 60 and you already have osteoporosis or osteopenia, getting on HRT then is not, it's like chasing our tail, right? Where if we would have optimized hormone levels earlier in life, we could have prevented that. Same thing goes for, there's two other things: cognitive decline or dementia risk. That is greater in women later in life when they've had low estrogen levels. We see a spike in dementia post-menopause in women, with that, and part of that is from that loss of the hormones. And then the other thing is heart health. This one can be a little bit nuanced. It can depend on some other risk factors for heart health, like your risk of a heart attack. But again, if we're like, you don't need to be on HRT, you just need to heal your gut and decrease your inflammation, that can be misleading, because it's only looking at HRT from the sense of treating symptoms. It's not looking at HRT as longevity medicine and as like preventing, it literally like decreasing your risk of death later in life, because those three things: osteoporosis, osteopenia, dementia, and cognitive decline, and then heart disease, those are the things that kill women in their 60s and their 70s. So it's not if we're looking at a long game strategy here, not a short term, like, oh, I just manage my symptoms through this, particular time of life. So I have created for you, if you want more information on this, you're like, I don't even know what my levels are, or I don't know if mine are really normal or optimal. I've created a guide for you called the Midlife Hormone Roadmap. It's a 17-page ebook that I created. It's not fluff. It literally cuts to the chase of like, this is what you should have tested. This is what you should ask your doctor for. These are the optimal levels. Here's when you should have this tested. Here's some tests you can do even at home yourself. I break that all down. It's free to you when you become a free subscriber to Her Genetic Edge. So you can just click subscribe. You don't have to be a paid subscriber, just the free subscribers. And that copy of that roadmap will go right to your inbox. So I hope this is helpful, and I will see you next time we go live.